A year ago, my fiancé and I agreed to open our relationship, setting clear guidelines. Physical intimacy with others was allowed, but emotional involvement was strictly prohibited. However, as time went on, I started to suspect that he was forming an emotional attachment to a woman he'd been seeing physically. As our wedding date drew closer, I realized that the open arrangement was affecting our connection, and I wanted to revert to exclusivity. I'd been with 4 other men strictly on a physical level, honoring our boundaries, while he had his own encounters with several women, which, until recently, didn't seem to cross any emotional lines. Then, I uncovered that he'd been consistently seeing one woman for the past 3 months. Digging deeper, I found he was going out to dinners and lunches with her, chatting daily, and even planning work trips together. This emotional connection was a clear violation of our agreement, and I felt betrayed. I realized I couldn't go forward with our marriage if he didn't end his emotional relationship with her, as we had committed to keeping each other as our main priority, and he had broken that promise. I planned a conversation for that night to address his betrayal. While I had abided by our agreement without forming emotional attachments to others, it seemed that my initial proposal of an open relationship may have hurt him deeply, though he never admitted it outright. The breaking point arrived one Friday. I had recently discovered his growing emotional involvement with her, but he still chose to visit her after work, intending to return the next day. However, on Saturday, he messaged me to say he'd stay until Sunday, claiming she was ill with a migraine and needed him to make sure she was okay. I confronted him about this excuse, finding it unnecessary for him to stay the night over a migraine. He maintained he was being truthful and assured me he'd return Sunday afternoon, which he did. After his return, I revealed that I knew about his relationship with her, which was strictly off-limits according to our open relationship terms. He seemed shocked by how much I'd uncovered about their outings and messages. I admitted to checking his emails and WhatsApp conversations, which angered him, but I pressed on, determined to get the truth. Eventually, he broke down and told me he no longer wanted to marry me, and even more painfully, that he was ending our relationship altogether. He confessed that he was in love with this woman and had ended things with all his other partners to focus on her. He said he felt truly cherished by her, loved the exclusivity she offered, and was committed to her. I told him I wanted to end our open relationship and focus on each other exclusively, realizing it hadn't worked out as we'd hoped, but he refused, explaining that he couldn't give up his connection with her and no longer wished to work things out with me, saying that things had changed too much. I reminded him that he was the one who'd agreed to this open arrangement and had been with multiple women, but now he was blaming me for it all. He argued that he wasn't placing blame but admitted that, over time, he found the experiences hollow and meaningless, leaving him feeling pathetic and wanting something more genuine. He didn't apologize for his emotional betrayal. When I pointed out he was throwing away years of commitment and an engagement for a 3-month relationship, he insisted that it was far from a fling. His detachment and indifference shocked me. He hinted at potentially moving in with her, despite their brief relationship, leaving me feeling abandoned and empty. Now, I'm torn. Part of me wants to wait, hoping he'll realize that he's making a hasty decision, while another part wonders if I should simply walk away, letting him go. I spent the entire night awake, struggling to come to terms with what's next. We were set to marry later this year, and the thought of calling it off and explaining it to everyone is overwhelming. I'm consumed with confusion and grief. And as for telling the other woman about our engagement, I'm not sure if she knows about it. After reading the comments, I feel as though I'm the one who engaged in a game and ended up with a heart-wrenching outcome. The dynamics have shifted, and he has closed off the door we once shared, leaving me on the outside in shock. How do you feel picturing him enjoying a romantic candlelit dinner with this woman, filled with sweet and tender moments? Does it twist your stomach and break your heart? The reality is that when you suggested exploring relationships with other men, you inadvertently made him feel inadequate. Logically, he believed it would be better to seek someone else rather than remain with you. You implied there was someone specific you had in mind, even if you didn't state it outright. I understand it may not be the most honorable route, but from his perspective, it seemed justified, especially since you had previous experiences with open relationships. Moreover, despite your assertion of not developing emotional attachments outside of your relationship, you never truly made yourself emotionally available to him. He sought someone else who, as he expressed, made him her sole focus. There's no way to mend this, nor should you try. Your selfishness and disregard pushed him away. While he isn't without blame, He bears far less responsibility than you do. Allow him to go find his happiness. Don't bother reaching out to the other woman because it's clear she's closer to him now than you are. I completely agree. Despite OP's attempts to defend herself, she doesn't seem to grasp the seriousness of her actions. The relationship was opened as a last resort when things were crumbling, and his self-esteem was plummeting, which was never communicated effectively. It's obvious he was deeply hurt. Honestly, it seems OP no longer has the option to revert to a closed relationship, given her apparent oblivion. I wonder if this is some sort of elaborate prank, because the whole scenario feels too bizarre to be real. If it's not a joke, it's genuinely unsettling to think someone like OP is out there. I empathize with your situation, but belittling others won't change what's real. Now, for the next story. I'm a 20-year-old woman who urged my 19-year-old boyfriend to enter an open relationship, and now I'm afraid he might leave me. The title sums it up. We've been together for nearly 3 years. Having started in high school, our intimate life was fantastic, but lately, it lost its excitement. A close friend suggested that the only way to salvage the relationship was to open it up, so I discussed it with my boyfriend and explained what an open relationship meant. I was genuinely thrilled about this new journey, but my boyfriend was initially hesitant. It took a week of persuasion, where I laid out the pros and cons, for him to agree. It was evident he had doubts, fearing it would permanently alter our relationship. Despite his hesitance, we decided to pursue an open relationship, and a few months went by. During this period, I entered into a purely physical relationship with a coworker, devoid of any emotional ties. While it was enjoyable, I soon began to miss the intimacy with my boyfriend and longed to return to a monogamous setup. However, everything changed when I learned my boyfriend was sleeping with far more people than I was. To make matters worse, many of these individuals were from our high school, and the ultimate betrayal was that he had fallen in love with the idea of an open relationship. While I wanted to revert to monogamy, I felt deceived and conflicted about how things had unfolded. Regarding the advice given, it seemed my plan had backfired. I recognized that I desperately wanted to return to monogamy, while my boyfriend was thriving in the open relationship. The saying, "play stupid games, win stupid prizes," rang true in my situation. Others pointed out that I wasn't being betrayed. I had pushed for this arrangement, and now that it was seemingly working for him, I couldn't just demand we close it. I was advised that I might have to accept the consequences of my actions or risk losing the relationship entirely. My friend's advice had been misguided, and there were more effective ways to tackle relationship issues without resorting to such drastic measures. In the end, I was told that I couldn't take back my decision. My boyfriend was content with how things stood, and my choices had led us here. Ending the relationship might be the only way forward if we couldn't find common ground. I was cautioned against thinking he would simply leave me, as he appeared satisfied with the open arrangement. On the surface, everything seems fine, despite how I truly feel. If I were to tell him that I no longer wanted an open relationship, he likely wouldn't agree to end it. He relishes the freedom it provides, enjoying physical intimacy with others while still having me at home. It's clear that I made a mistake. As for the last story, I'm a 29-year-old woman in a 2-year relationship with my 31-year-old boyfriend. I wasn't satisfied with our exclusive relationship, so after a year and a half, I brought up the idea of opening it up. My desire wasn't due to any discontent with him. I simply craved the thrill of flirting with new people, which I knew I couldn't replicate with him. We established some boundaries. Each of us could have one additional partner at a time, strictly as friends with benefits, no one-night stands allowed. These partners couldn't be anyone already in our lives, and we couldn't see them more than once a week without each other's consent. Plus, bringing them home required mutual agreement. At first, the open relationship seemed like a promising solution. I was able to explore new connections without jumping into purely physical encounters. However, my boyfriend began seeing Christine. He adhered to all our rules and was open about his relationship with her. Yet he continued seeing her for 4 months. Despite my efforts to move on and avoid attachments, he was still involved with Christine. Recently, he proposed a threesome with her, and I reluctantly agreed to meet her for coffee on my own. The meeting left me feeling angry and uneasy. I cut our time together short and told my boyfriend I wasn't interested in a threesome with her. What frustrated me most was his unwillingness to consider a threesome involving my friend with benefits. Even though I was open to one with Christine, he completely rejected that idea and wouldn't even meet my friend. Despite me meeting all of his partners, This situation left me feeling confused and frustrated about our relationship dynamics. I've reached a point where the open relationship doesn't matter to me anymore. Is there a way to close things off again and move forward? In general, it's crucial to treat others how you wish to be treated. You can't have everything your way. For most people, open relationships tend to be a poor choice. Looking back, asking for an open relationship seems selfish because it was more about fulfilling my own desires than exploring something meaningful with my partner. When my boyfriend adhered to the guidelines I set, I selfishly decided to close the relationship out of jealousy. This situation makes me question my emotional capacity to handle either a healthy open relationship or a healthy closed one. This post seems to encapsulate the common trajectory of open relationships for many. For men, the toughest part of opening a relationship often involves their partner having physical intimacy with other men. For women, it's usually dealing with the emotional connections their partner forms with other women. At the outset of an open relationship, when both partners begin exploring with others, it tends to be more challenging for the man, as he must navigate his feelings and do a lot of emotional work. Meanwhile, the woman often finds it easier and is enthusiastic about the non-monogamous lifestyle during this period. However, complications tend to arise when the man starts developing a deeper bond with another partner, prompting the woman to confront difficult emotions. At this stage, instead of addressing her feelings, she might insist on closing the relationship and use various tactics like vetoes and new rules to keep the arrangement one-sided. It's crucial to realize that proposing an open relationship and then getting upset when your partner engages in one is precisely why this concept is problematic. Not everyone is interested in casual encounters with strangers, especially in a committed relationship. As for my feelings when I met the other woman, it wasn't solely about her appearance. She wasn't the type of girl I expected my boyfriend to be drawn to. I'm taller and more athletically built, enjoying activities like hiking and climbing, while she's petite and fits the conventional cute girl mold. It's not about jealousy, it's the shock that the girl he chose as his friend with benefits doesn't align with my expectations. And that wraps up this discussion. If you have any thoughts, please share them in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you found this content enjoyable. Until next time, take care, everyone.